friends have never been more important than they are today. Everywhere you turn, there seems to be reasons to give up or not even try at all. We want to be the light in these times and an inspiration for others to keep pushing forward. My journey of growth comes through humility, and I welcome all who are looking to grow with me. Thanks for tuning in to the Crew First Culture Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. Thank you for spending some time with us today. My name is Jeremy, and want to hopefully have a good conversation today that brings you some benefit to your life and just some things to think about and maybe a little inspiration, whatever else we can get along the way. Today, I'm joined by two people. One is going to be a little bit of a familiar voice, had him on before, and one will be new. So with me today is Aaron Quinn, Oakland senior firefighter, and Ian Palmer, who is a firefighter outside of Rochester. And I will let them kind of give a little short introduction to each other, and we'll go from there. So go ahead, Aaron.
Well, my name is Aaron Quinn. I'm a firefighter in the city of Oakland. I've been there for 18 years. I started training the new recruits in 2007, as I mentioned before in a previous podcast, and I've been training them ever since. The last, almost 13 years or so, give or take. And over that time, I actually just counted. I trained about 200 of our firefighters, is roughly about half of our department. And currently I'm at Station 18, which is in the east end of Oakland. And I've been there probably for about 10 years now, stationed there.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, Ian, nice to meet you. Glad to have you on, and look
so
forward to the conversation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Ian Palmer. I'm a fireman in Rondequoit, New York, just right outside the city of Rochester. Been a volunteer and career firefighter for 10 years. Been on the job for just over 3 now, but it's definitely something that I take very, very seriously. Not at the level Aaron's trained recruits at all, but I've been part of it this past year with the New York State Fire Academy, as well as the Monroe County Fire Academy. The Monroe County one just started this year, was the very first class, and it ended very, very well. But I've been in charge of doing the fitness for the State Fire Academy, and I was part of the team that initiated the fitness program at the Monroe County Fire Academy. I'm the owner of Thin Line Fitness. Started that off in 2017 when I got back from my last deployment overseas, and been more of a preacher of bringing the culture of fitness not only to the fire service but to all responders, because it's one of the things that a lot take for granted, and one of the things that kills all of us, and I want to help be part of the team that prevents that.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm excited to have you both on, and looking forward to what you have to say. So just a little preemptive here, Ian gave a little warning that he's kind of subject to military Wi-Fi at this point. So if it's a little bit choppy, that's kind of the reason behind it, but we'll make the best out of it and go from there. So kind of really leading off of what Ian just said right there is where I wanted to go, or at least start with today, is that culture of fitness. And anybody that's listened or followed anything I do, everything really revolves around culture, and I just love the conversation culture, in any aspect. Training culture, fitness culture is just the fire culture in general of the fire service. So what I kind of want to head down is pick these guys' brains about how to really get to a good culture of fitness in a fire service. If you don't really have that in your department, or maybe you do somewhat, but you want to get to a better level, that's really kind of what I want to learn about today. Honest, just learn from myself. And so not to hog the microphone here, but just to give a little bit about my department, we don't have any kind of fitness, any I don't know what you want to call it, any kind of like guidelines or tests or anything. There's really nothing. If you work out, you can work out. If you don't work out, nobody has anything to say about it. So that's kind of where I'm getting at is really interested to hear what you guys have to say about getting people interested and getting that drive in others and whatever else we can get into. So whoever wants to start, tell me kind of what, I guess a good place to start is just what you find important as far as adding to a department, as far as fit. What do you see as a good, I don't know, a good process to have? Either of you have anything to say about that?
Right, Ian. I'll follow your
So
lead.
um, I think you had it right when you were saying a good place to start.
Yeah.
In my professional opinion, a good place to start is where we start. When we start as bottom of the barrel rookies in the academy, a big change that we've been putting in at the State Fire Academy is transitioning from the typical 10 count calisthenics to a functional fitness platform. And before I took over, one of the things that I heard from all the recruits that came back from the academy was, well, they didn't really do much with this. I'm really good at push-ups and flutter kicks, and that's all I know how to do. And they're afraid to ask. So they just do the bare minimum of PT, or they just dive right off and unfortunately don't pursue fitness any further because of their bad experiences at the academy. So what we've been doing is showing these kids all these different movements with very basic equipment or just no equipment, just different types of more high intensity and functional calisthenics that they can bring back to their fire department, that they can use in their own programs, that they can teach to not, I would love for them to teach it to their senior guy, but, they can teach it to the other younger, the middle of the road firemen. And hopefully that senior fireman, the lieutenant, the captain, the chief will jump in as well and help create that culture of fitness doesn't have to be the big fire department, but as long as it's at that fire station, word will spread, it'll get out, more and more will talk about it. Now in my experience at my job, it's different. Big thing, you want to make sure you create an inviting culture. Um, you can have firemen that don't flinch at anything, aren't scared of anything, but for some weird reason, they're afraid of that gym with the weights and the mats. That's what they won't do. You know, and if you're saying, hey, so and so, come back here, let's work out, and you go right into your heavy lifts, they're gonna look at you like, he expects me to do this shit. He can do X, but I can't even do Y right now, and that right there can kick them off. So if you have to have your workout suffer for a little bit to work out with that guy that hasn't been in the gym for 10, 15 years, to get him back on the right foot, to increase his quality of life, make sure he doesn't get hurt on the job, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I
What
would,
do you think, Aaron?
well, I would agree mostly. I would echo with the fact that it needs to start in the academies from day one. Our academies start at 6:30. The very first thing they do is PT with me. The person they see is me. I think starting from the ground level is a long process. I've been at it for 13 years. I can say that the majority of people that I have trained, they may not keep the same level of fitness, but they understand the importance of fitness and why to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really molded my training of the recruits less in the eyes of kind of a hits or a CrossFit or high intensity. Not saying that we don't do those things, not saying those things aren't super important, but I gear myself more towards a holistic approach. giving people things they can take and build into anything they like to do: riding a bike, running, rowing, fencing, rock climbing. It doesn't matter. I'm going to give you things that are going to keep you healthy for the fire ground, and really trying to impress upon them the importance of an overall holistic approach, so that they can meet that and combine it with whatever they see fit. So that's kind of my thoughts. I do think if you have an administrative from the top down also really helps. We used to have a physical agility that we had to pass every year. And there are plenty of guys who didn't do much until that was coming up, and they got in the gym and started doing something. And we did away with that. And that's really been to the detriment of our overall physical fitness, especially with the older guys who don't have that built into them yet.
Yeah,
I think
I'm right with you with that holistic approach. Like I said, quality of life. We have things to do outside the firehouse, and there's a lot of things we could do at home that can get us hurt, whether it's just raking or picking up the kid to play with them. That you gotta make sure if you don't teach proper form doing this, how are you gonna be able to do that when you get home?
Absolutely. One of the things I really impress upon them is we do a lot of prehab exercises, and that's, again, my first week to 2 weeks of the academy looked nothing like most academies. We're not yelling at them, we're not shouting at them, we're not breaking them down. That's the drill ground. But I really want them to understand that the PT isn't another place to be broken down. It isn't another place to run the tower again, or to do push-ups or hold plank for 5 minutes, or to any of the number of punishments, duck walk for a quarter mile, whatever the cadre seem fit to grind these guys out with. I really want them to understand that PT is a place to repair and to move forward. And so that's the fundamental platform that I build. And we start talking about the first thing, like I said, prehab exercises, foam rolling, stretching, yoga, mindset, diet, nutrition. And then from there, we start building some of the more what I would say would be classic elements of a physical fitness program.
I think what you said right there is probably it's a very big key, and I don't want people to just kind of gloss over that. It fitness, you can't make it almost feel like you're getting disciplined or you're getting beat down. There's a lot to fitness. There's mental, there's nutrition, there's recovery, like you said, and to make it to where it's a part of who we are, and it's a big part of your day, and it's a part of why you're healthy. I think that's probably a good mindset to try to impress on people is, we're not doing this so I could go kick your butt for 20 minutes in a crazy workout. There's a lot more tiers to it. I could say layers, and that's important. I think that's a good kind of mindset to have. Is there's a lot more to it than just going out and wearing yourself completely out. That's okay. That's working out, but it's a lot bigger than that. So that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. And Aaron and I, it's insane how almost as far as you can get West Coast and pretty damn far East Coast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the way you said you start off with you don't treat them like shit, you treat them like people.
Yeah.
That makes the world a difference. Because before I took over, these guys that were running it before were they were corrections officers for their entire career. They weren't firemen; they just knew how to do PT. And the things they said to these kids and the way they treated them was just it was off-putting. And you're not going to work hard if you're getting called a pile of baby shit. But you're going to work hard if you're getting motivated by the instructor.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely great to see how it's actually happening in other places, major places.
Yeah. I move a lot into the mental space, and there's a whole psychology behind it too. If you're regretting and dreading and hating fitness, your body and your neurology is going to respond 100% differently. You're not going to evolve towards it. You're going to evolve away from it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be something that you fall back on when things get hard. It's going to be something that you only go to when everything is good. And we all know from our job, I mean, it's very few times where everything's running smoothly. Just not the nature of who we are and where we are off duty. So I think trying to build that understanding of a positive viewpoint, a positive place, not everybody is going to be the David Goggins, going out, or the Jocko Willink at 4:30 in the morning, killing themselves. Right. Not everybody enjoys that. I personally do. I think we probably have that in common too, Ian, but, not everybody wants to go and, push themselves until the snot comes out of their nose. Right. And so just meeting people where they're at and showing them where they could go, I think, is another piece.
Yeah. And
I would like for you, go ahead, Ian.
It's big too with the mental aspect, not just for, like you said, not just for the recruits, but for the older guys that have 15, 20 years on. And I see it at my work, and I'm glad that you can see the progression little by little. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'd like more, but the fact that we've implemented just the sole fact of stretching before each shift, and during that stretch, questions get asked. What can I do to work on this? And that it gets the mind rolling with them, and before you know it, there's more and more in the gym doing what they got to do.
That's right.
That's kind of what I was about to probably kind of lead into the next level here is Aaron, you kind of mentioned you like to get into the mental space. Tell me more about that, kind of the benefits of it, the processes, just wherever you want to take it.
Yeah. So, another big piece is that train for your reality, right? And so oftentimes in tactical situations, an all-out effort isn't necessarily what we need. We need to be able to make clear decisions, especially on the fire ground. And so understanding where that work to decision ratio lies, so that we're not working so hard that our decision-making processes are being compromised. So those are very important pieces. I talk about composure, confidence, concentration, and conditioning being my 4 C's of mental performance. And those will constitute a flow state when those are in line. And they're kind of like a Venn diagram, if you can picture that, different circles of those. And when those circles kind of overlap, that's your sweet spot of performance, right? And so the more in line those circles can become, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have all the confidence in the world, but if you understand where that confidence lies, and then you can line that up with the composure and the concentration and the conditioning, then you're going to have a very positive performance, and you're more likely to make sound decisions, which is going to lead to a better effort on the fire ground. I'll stop there. I can keep going, but
you got anything with that, Ian?
Dude, you're a lot deeper in the psychology of this stuff than I am. And I definitely got some stuff to learn from you. My thing that I preach about a lot to everybody is just, not quitting. It's getting over that mental step of, saying, oh, I can't do it, and saying, oh, well, you know what, I can do it for 10, 20 more seconds or 3 or 4 more reps. It's absurd seeing, when you start the academy, seeing these kids that can't hold a push-up plank, let alone do a single push-up, and then at the end they're crushing their CPAT. They could do 30, 40 push-ups, and they didn't change at all. The only thing that changed was they might have lost a couple pounds, and their mental attitude changed. And with that mental attitude, you can do everything you can.
100%. I mean, the whole goal is that we can't quit. There's no one else to call. The firefighters we don't call really anyone else, so we don't have that option. And those 4 C's play in to help us not quit. Right? We're concentrating on the process and concentrating on the moment and the second and the micro goals, and these all come into play. And as soon as we lose composure, we start to doubt ourselves, or question, and start to get out of focus, and all these things swirl in our head. That's when the ideas of quitting come in, right? And that's when it seems easier to quit than to pull that back. But if we can start to identify those thought patterns before they happen, hopefully we can get ahead of that curve and gather that one leg back, so we don't lose the other 3 legs. I think another thing too, I'm sure Ian, you've noticed this, and this plays in, when I talk about conditioning, the conditioning is not what I traditionally think of as like the PT exercises. It's conditioning of the movement patterns. And I think that's a place too. You're talking about holding a plank. Sometimes you hold a plank and you can't hold a plank because the movement pattern, the neurological firing isn't there. It's not a second muscle memory type of movement. It takes a whole lot of concentration to even produce that push-up or to produce that movement. And when we're able to move those movements or condition those movements into a reaction or a unthought, like a movement pattern we don't think about, it's just automatic, right? That frees up all those other areas of our brain to focus on the task or the goal or to not quit, right? So that's a huge piece of, how do we get our bodies to learn movements faster?
I think, you talked about
And you
pushing
get
through
it through
that not
repetition.
quit, pushing through that kind of mental part of not quitting. If you're talking about just citizens that work out and want to push through that, that's one thing. But we cannot allow ourselves to have that thought in our head, because that's going to manifest itself in a spot where we can't quit. We're in a smoked out environment on air, and if we quit and freak out and pull our mask off, we're in trouble. And so that is something we have got to fight through and find ways to fight through. And I had a recorded episode with a friend yesterday that'll come out here in a couple of days, and that's kind of what I talked about, is something that I experienced myself. Is I was doing functional fitness to where I was on air. I would force a door, and then I would just take my mask or unhook and reset, and then I'd do it again. And that was good. I thought it was good. But then a week or two later, I did a complete on-air workout, and my body was telling me, you have about 2 minutes to work, and then I get a break, because that's what you were doing. I was forcing a door and then coming off air, and it taught my body very quickly that that's how we do things. And man, it really, it was very eye-opening how quick, things like that are learned with your body.
And muscle memory through repetition affects more than just what we're used to. And perfect example of what happens when you're doing something that you think is great, but then your body reacts 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
So it's one thing that, once a week we usually do a complete on-air in-gear workout where we're doing all function, like throwing ladders, dragging dummies, carrying saws, pulling hose, stuff that we're going to do, and we're on air that entire time until we're sucking masks. It's because we need to get used to every movement we can possibly do while we're wearing everything we need to wear.
Yeah, I mean that's
Go ahead.
the on-air workouts are huge. That's one of the things where you really start to see the connection between the pace at which you work and your control of your breath, and the fact that sometimes, one of the things I like to do with the recruits, our on-air drill we do is called the star drill. I don't know why, it's just called the star drill. But I have them. I want you to go all out as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and see if you can get through it. And most times you can't get through it. And then I said, okay, now I want you to pace yourself. I want you to really focus on your breath and really control your breathing, and focus on nasal breathing or box breathing or longer exhales. These are all techniques that we train prior to this, of course. And they see all of a sudden they can make it through the whole course and have air left over, right? So you get more work done, but not necessarily working harder, right? And so I think that those connections get made in the brain, and those are muscle memory connections. One of the things you might want to try, you talk about sucking air, which I think is a great added, is once that bell goes off, have them sit down where they're at, have them, mock a radio. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. I'm on a Mayday. My location is XYZ. Ask them if they know who the RIT team is. Assign 2 guys in your academy to RIT. See if they're paying attention, right? engine so-and-so, the grit team. You know, these are all things that we train our minds to be able to do. And so that when we're working, when we're on air, when we've been exhausted, when we're managing, when we're heat stressed, when our bell goes off and anxiety comes up, can you go through those motions then? These are all things that we can bring into the PT realm, which I think is awesome and fun to do.
It's a great way to really read your body and your mind, because you're in a controlled environment. You know, you're with hopefully one or two or three others. You can really take that time, like, all right, this is how exhausted I am. I've been working for this long, doing this stuff. What do I feel like? That way, when you're at that point in a fire or doing whatever, you're like, oh shit, okay, I know that I was feeling this way before, and then 3 minutes later, I puked or whatever. You can expect maybe that's going to happen.
Well, another question that I would like to kind of get your opinion on is, so we talked about more of a functional fitness. I guess you'd call an on-air workout that, or training or things like that. That's really kind of where I'm at right now. I'm really enjoying more of a functional fitness type of workouts. You got functional fitness, stretching, just all these different weightlifting, all these different kind of categories of working out. Give me an idea of what you guys perceive as a good mix of that. Just maybe throw out a week, say a couple days a week do this, 1 day a week do this, just kind of shoot out something of a good mix that you would find of all of that.
You want to go first, Ian?
So I personally, yeah, sure.
Go. Got it.
This is really lagging over here. So personally, it depends, what my work week is at. Normally, if I'm on shift, I don't like to really do the in gear, on air functional fitness stuff, because if we get a call, it looks super unprofessional. Sweat, panting for air. Functional workouts. Interconnection is unstable. All right. You guys hear me? All right.
You're there. We got you.
Right.
Yeah.
So generally, I devote 1 day to speed and power, whether it's deadlifts, fast squats. I'm big on deadlifts. I'm a big proponent of them, as long as they're done correctly. It's definitely in my personal opinion, probably the best lift you can do as a fireman and as a person, because it works everything, including your brain. It's that thing where you're looking at the bar and you're like, shit, I don't know if I can do this, but that's where you just take that step between can and can't, and you push yourself. And those can easily be coupled with other speed and power. It's like box jumps, sprints. You can take your time and really do some single leg Romanian deadlifts or something like that. Typically after that day, I like to go a little bit lighter, so that might be when I do a more functional workout with no gear, like sandbag drags, bear crawls, things like that.
It's time to cut out now, bud. You might have to take over, Aaron. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
You guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting out pretty bad. So go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah.
We'll catch
yeah. So, my week depends a little bit on, pre-COVID, post-COVID, obviously. Pre-COVID, I'll do jiu-jitsu 3 days a week whenever I'm off duty. So that's a pretty demanding, I would say, overall fitness type of endeavor. I think it really trains a lot of good aspects for firefighting. But my average week would probably look something like, pretty much every day I would start off with some prehab exercises, and those include mobility and strength training, dead bugs, bird dogs, side steps, strengthening the hips, strengthening the knees, just any kind of thing to kind of get those muscles activated and the core activated. And then, from there, I progressed to any number of functional things. I'll lift twice a week. My lifts, I agree, deadlifts are awesome. I do Zercher squats, back squats, all variations of pressing, especially pressing overhead. I think is hugely important because we do a lot of pressing overhead in our job. So push press, cleans. These are all things I do on my lift days, and I do it twice a week. And at least twice a week, I'll do what I call, a cold workout, where I'll just get up and go, and no warm up. Just get up out of bed, go down to the gym, and just grind it out. And usually that's like a 250 burpee, 100 pull-ups, just something that's grueling. It's going to take me about 45 minutes. Sometimes I go downstairs and load up deadlift bar and just deadlift cold. Because that's what we're asked to do in our job. We wake up in the middle of the night all the time and have to, even if it's lifting a patient, it's just, that's what we're asked to do. So I need to train that and understand where that is. Generally I don't worry about training heat stress. If I'm training jiu-jitsu, that's enough heat stress. But right now, because COVID, I put a sweatsuit on and cover that up and just, whatever I can do to be hot and uncomfortable. That's part of our job too. So I get my average week, if I break it down, lifting twice a week, some sort of calisthenic, body weight movement twice a week, running 2 or 3 times a week. Then on top of that, I always finish off with some sort of yoga every day. I'm a huge proponent of that, whether it's a huge yoga workout that will take me about an hour and a half, or just even 30-40 minutes. But that is absolutely, I think, one of the biggest pieces that a lot of us miss is yoga training.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit on that last episode, and I think it's interesting, the mindset with yoga as far as firefighters. I think there's a lot of people out there still that don't get it, or haven't tried it, or just the stigma of it's not going to do any good. But if you actually get out and do it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculously hard. So if you're out there and you haven't tried it, you need to give it a try for sure.
I have 3 different free yoga flows on YouTube under Live.Serve.Thrive. And if anyone thinks that it's easy, just go ahead and try that. If it's easy for you, let me know. I'll get something harder. Most people's arms are shaking so bad after halfway that they want to give up.
How long are they?
They're about 50 minutes long. And they're basic, but they really focus on the upper body and the mobility in the shoulders and chest and back, and the stabilizing muscles. We're throwing ladders, pike pulling, we push stuff overhead all the time. We need to have a stable shoulder girdle, and through ranges of motion too. One of the things that happens when we just lift barbells, even the Olympic lifts, is our ranges of motion become more limited. So yoga can help free that up a little bit. But yeah, huge roadblock in firefighting. It's okay. It's coming around.
I'm sure. Yeah. You kind of got cut out there. Is there
stretching and mobility?
Yep.
I don't know where I left off, but the workouts, it really depends on the day. Like I said, once a week we do the in gear on air stuff. Huge on kettlebells, big on single arm stuff, whether it's single arm standing presses or single arm chest press. Because you'd be surprised, you're just laying down and pressing with a single arm, how much of your core you're activating just to keep stable. Which it's amazing that you're doing this yoga. I wish more guys at work would do it. And I might put those videos up if it's as hard.
Do it. Let me know.
Because it's stretching is a big thing I preach about, and yoga is something that is a phenomenal way for people to do it and still get a good workout out of it. And
Oh yeah.
a lot of these guys, oh, stretching's not a work. I'm like, you stretch for 30, 45 minutes and you're pretty damn sore the day after. And it's a great way to increase your mobility and stay safe on the job.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems when people just stretch, as opposed to something like yoga, which uses body weight resistance, obviously, is, we have this kind of give and take, yin and yang, between mobility and strength and injury. And when we have excess mobility and lack of strength, we're going to get injured. And if we have a huge amount of strength and a lack of mobility, we're going to get injured too. And so those need to be in balance. Our strength and mobility absolutely need to be in balance. And so stuff like you're saying, like, melding those two together is huge. And when people do that, they see success, and they have long careers. And when we solely focus on one or the other, we end up getting injured pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. That balance you talked about. Yeah, it's great if you can deadlift 1,000 pounds or bench press 800 pounds.
Who told you
But
I can lift that much?
if you're so huge that you have no mobility, you're not going to serve me much purpose on the fire ground. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a reason Eddie Hall isn't a fireman.
So it's definitely a place for that mobility and flexibility. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's something that it's so simple to do. Just like we're doing before a shift. 5 minutes of just the basics to get the guys ready for our game. That's the next 24 hours. And just keeping those shoulders.
That's a culture thing right there. I mean,
yeah.
You start something every day, and that's what we do. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. That's starting a culture, and like kind of, I believe it was you, Ian, that started off by saying is, maybe my department doesn't have anything like that, but if my crew started these things and people, the word's getting out, other shifts at my station start seeing what we're doing, and then kind of other stations and other shifts and all that, that's,
yeah.
Maybe that's how it spreads, and that's how culture just spreads throughout a department.
Yeah, we've been I was lucky enough to submit a proposal for a fitness program at my department, and it took a little bit, but the commission finally approved it. And it starts with sending out the basic questionnaire: what's your goals, what do you want to do, prior injuries, all that stuff. And every single person is different, but no matter what, my goal for you is to be a good fireman. You can have the goal of be Jack Diesel and deadlift 1,000 pounds. That's cool. I'll help you deadlift some more weight, but more than anything, I want you to be better at your job. And there's some guys that actually a lot of them, they want to lose weight. Phenomenal. It makes my job easier if you go down. I'll help you with that 100%. So we got a good response from it. The big thing is firemen always want to be compensated. And it's an intensive program, and it takes a lot of time for guys to do, whether you're on shift or off shift, and it requires a couple of days of coming in to do your assessments. So we're trying to figure out how we can incentivize something that is necessary for the job. I would hope that not dying early would be incentive enough, but guys always want something. So it's something that's it's easy to think about and it's easy to do, but it's something that is hard to pick up off the ground and promote throughout the entire department, if that makes sense.
Aaron, you talked about you guys used to have some type of program at Oakland, and that's gone away. What do you think is kind of the biggest barrier of either maintaining something like that or starting it or anything like that with the department?
Finances. I mean, I'll be blunt. It's money. Yeah, I don't know how you guys' departments are, but in Oakland, we're running on about as lean as we can run, and we're happy when our rigs are working. And we have stations where windows don't open, and we have leaks, and we can't get lights. It's financial strains. And I mean this in the kindest possible way. But if you're admin and you're looking at spending money, and I'm like, wow, I got to get these 8 ladder trucks, 9 ladder, 10 ladder, whatever, in your fleet. I got to get them up and running because we don't have any spares, and we had one go down last night, and we put a fucking truck company in a pickup with some chainsaws and and I'm not, that's what happens. Hey, let's grab 2 chainsaws and a circ saw and the hydraulic hearse tool and put them back in a pickup, and we'll respond with that. Fuck it, that's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And if you're looking at that and you're saying, do I have money for a fitness program? The answer is no, you don't. And until I think as it's just cities have to want to invest in their employees, and the money's tight. That's what I think the biggest roadblock is. To Ian's
Aaron,
point.
do you see kind of the same thing? Locked up. You might have lost Ian again. For us, okay, go ahead. Do you kind of see the same thing or something different?
We're very limited in our fitness budget. We're at $8,000 for a year. Luckily, we've been able to slowly get the equipment that we would like. Now we're at the point of we pretty much have all the equipment that we need. Now it's to the point where things have to be replaced because they're getting broken or whatnot. But asking for that increase in budget just to incentivize guys or to bring in a couple of the pure fitness trainers to help train these guys when we're off but they're on, they look at it like, it's the end of the world. They'll throw $5-6 grand at a floor machine to clean the floors when we got perfectly good mops. But we asked for a little bit of money for better equipment or better incentives, and so we're nowhere near the same as you, Aaron. It sucks that they won't invest in guys' fitness when it can lower healthcare costs and it can make a better department. But
yeah, I think that's an interesting angle that, viewing it from an admin standpoint is you want to avoid injuries and you want to avoid all these costs that's associated with that, and more of like a risk management type department of the city. And well, it seems like that, like the prevention side isn't really thought about. It maybe it is, and maybe we just don't see it from our angle, but it seems like that's kind of down the line for them, is they don't put much into putting in a fitness program so that prevention of these injuries is kind of just the culture of the department. It's interesting to see. They definitely want to avoid the negative, but to put in the work ahead of time isn't really, it doesn't seem to be on the radar of a lot of people, and that's a problem, I guess.
yeah, with last year there's 23,000 strain and sprain injuries, most of which are preventable. And you think all the lost time with we if we're down 1 or 2 guys, my department, that'll blow the overtime budget because we only have 20 guys at the fire department.
Yeah.
And we have 1 or 2 guys out, and other guys go on vacation. Before you know it, overtime budget's blown and things are going crazy. So you just look at it even from a small department standpoint, lost time creates a lot of extra money. From a bigger city,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the cost.
Our department, we've got around 32 on every day on shift, and my particular shift has 4 hurt right now, injured, and that's where we're at. That's a big hole to fill every day, and so yeah, it puts you behind the 8 ball real quick.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You would think that cities. I personally don't see it in our department as admin's fault. I think it's just the cities don't want to invest in it. You come to
Yeah.
them with that dollar amount. They're just like, what? We live off grants for our fitness stuff. We write grants for everything. We wrote a grant for that. You mentioned the PFTs. We wrote a grant, got a bunch of equipment, put 40 firefighters through the PFT program.
Correct.
But there was no funding to keep it up, and so it fell apart. And we didn't have the ability to take companies out of service to train them, or it just becomes a logistic nightmare as well.
Yeah.
It's small cities have some of their own problems. Big cities have their own problems too. And I think there just so many roadblocks to it that until you have the IAFF or the International Chiefs Association, until these bigger entities actually stand up and start pounding their fist on this, they don't see traction. You see how much movement we made in mental health just in the last, I would say, 2 years. It's been massive,
Huge.
right?
Yeah.
Huge work on that, right? But somehow we still haven't connected physical health and nutrition to mental health, and so, but it takes both entities pounding their fists saying that we need this. This is what we need on a national standard, I think, to really push that dial.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but you do what you can do, and slowly you'll see, Ian, you keep doing it, and in the next 5 to 6 years, everyone beneath you will be like, dude, this is great. Thank you so much. They'll be calling you, and it will change the entire culture slowly. And then guys will spend their own money on buying fitness stuff. We got guys now pitching money in to buy saunas because of all the science behind saunas and how great those are, and so it becomes a we fund ourselves type of thing. And it's a slow process, and it's arduous sometimes. You feel like you're by yourself, but eventually at the end of the day, I think you turn around, you'll see how much of an impact you have, and it'll be meaningful.
It's one thing that I just personally, my own local goal with guys I work with is I love them all like family. I've known some of them since I was 3 years old. I don't want to see these guys finally retire after 25, 30 years and only enjoy it for 5 or 6 just because they didn't take care of themselves. So I really want to push this locally and obviously, push it out everywhere. And when I teach these recruits, start a new generation if we have to really just make this something that is the new fire service.
I think personally, just kind of what I see from all this is, yes, there are lots of struggles and roadblocks keeping this from being, something like you said, Aaron, something that gets traction, and something that is brought to the main stage. But really, I feel like you guys are what is going to turn it. It's the people on social media doing good things. It's the people, doing good things at your department for creating these things, teaching your new guys, your new firefighters, teaching the older firefighters that are there with you to get into it. But the social media thing is big, and you hear negative stuff about social media a lot, and man, I get it. There's a lot of negative out there, but if you paid attention to what you absorb through it, there is so much good to be had on social media. So much. I
Yeah.
don't give a crap about any of this negative stuff going on right now, and I don't spend a second on it. So I don't have any negative feelings towards social media because I don't involve myself in it. But what I do involve myself in is looking on Thin Line Fitness and seeing what Ian's doing today. Looking on Live. Let me make sure I get it right. Strive.
Serve, live, serve, thrive.
Live, Serve, Thrive. Okay. Live, Serve, Thrive, and see what Aaron's doing. Seeing some of his videos that he's putting out. Looking on all these, there are so many fitness and functional fitness and all of these things just associated with firefighting, not even including fitness sites that are not associated with fire. It's just, you could spend hours every day if you wanted to digging into that. And so I think a lot of people, that's how this movement, I think, is going to have to gain traction, is just branching out, getting some of these people that are already on there to motivate and inspire the next people. And then I'm sure both of you had some inspiration that came outward, just looking around and getting inspired. And so that's, to me, or at least speaking personally, I guess I should leave it at that, is that's how I feel like we're going to kind of move to the next level, is just everybody starting to step up and pulling their weight, doing their part, and just making it as best as we can, little by little.
Yeah, it's the day and age we're in now is where a lot of people, it's where we get our information. And that the big thing now is, what's real and what's fake. And I think with this aspect of things, you can tell looking at Aaron, he's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. He practices what he preaches, and he's one of the ones that you should listen to. You look at the functional fitness people that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. People like that are going to be the ones that change the game. When it gets to straight mental health, I know there's a few big social media pages out there, and it's the same thing. If you really need help, if you really need to figure out what to do at work for the fire department or police department, all right, I saw this on whatever the social media was. So it's a big thing that I think is just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
I agree 100%. I have nothing to add to that.
Well, I think you've got to definitely, and I've enjoyed the conversation for sure. Definitely got some good out of it myself, and that was kind of, you know that's what I go into all these looking for, is things that I can learn, things that I can use to grow myself, and hopefully that'll uh that'll transpire into others feeling the same way. And so, do either of you had anything else that you want to add to kind of finish up or close up the conversation?
Oh, I have a
Yeah.
question for Ian. Besides
Yeah.
besides deadlifts, what are your favorite lifts? What do you like to focus on?
I love power cleaning or hang cleaning. And on top of that, I really enjoy it's maybe it's because I've always had bad knees, but terminal knee extensions, TKEs,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with a band or not, just because it does, it's a lot better than obviously the sitting, the
Mm-hmm.
leg extensions, because you're using stabilizing muscles. And after I dislocated my patella, I did not want that to happen again because it freaking sucked. So I've been working on them a lot. And if you do them consistently, the amount of change you feel in balance and comfortability is crazy.
Huge.
Um, and then anything with a kettlebell, it's a super versatile tool that I can't get enough of.
Yeah, I love kettlebells. I think those are, to me, if I was gonna be able to have one piece, maybe a pull-up bar, and next would be kettlebells. And I think that's to me, firefighting, the kettlebell is king.
Yeah.
Still to this day. I mean, you can get into the lifts and other stuff and Olympic lifts, and those are fun. And I love those, and they just feel amazing in your body when you hit
Yeah.
that great lift. You really feel like you just you won the lottery. It feels so smooth and wonderful. But kettlebells are just, man, it's
You
for
do,
firefighting.
yeah, you do literally anything with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if I was gonna leave off with anything, it's just, especially if you're looking into establishing a new culture, don't be afraid to be a bug in an ear. There's a solid line between being annoying and not. But if you're consistent with it, eventually, as long as you're friendly about it, you're not an asshole about it. Eventually, they'll come around.
Final thoughts. I think, back to the original question of the culture of fitness. I think cultures in the fire service move slow. It's a slow transition, and to your point, the ship is moving, and it's moving slowly. And I think you just have to get out there, and to your point, get out there and keep doing the good fight, showing people what you're doing, showing people how it's helping you and how it's helping others, and it grows slowly. And I think that's the key. I think really having people understand how their bodies move and how our bodies break in the fire service, and what we can do to kind of prevent those breaks from happening, strengthen ahead of time. That way people are excited about what they're doing. It doesn't seem too daunting. But is in taking a holistic approach, just really trying to understand the whole body. And not every day is a hard day. A lot of easy days in there. And some of it's based on the night you had before. Some of it's based on what you've been eating, how much sleep, all it factors in. And I think just keep preaching that, and people will follow, and the culture will continue to shift and change.
Definitely.
I definitely appreciate both of you guys. You're, like I mentioned a little bit ago, you're doing great things. Oh, it's for people like me that I don't just seek and search out fitness. It's something that I have to work through. And so I really enjoy seeing things that you guys are putting out there, and give me some different ideas of, okay, that looks like that would be something good to do today, or man, that type of stretching or yoga exercise is something I probably need right now because I'm sore in this area, or whatever else. It just, you're doing good things. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys spending some time with us, and spreading some of that knowledge and that passion, and it's good stuff. Before we get off, I definitely want to give everybody out there a chance to figure out where to find you, or get a hold of you, whatever you want to give out. So where can people find you at? Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm at Live.Serve.Thrive, and that's across all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, online, and YouTube. Once again, it's Live.Serve.Thrive. Mostly on Instagram. So if you want to catch me or message me, that's where to message me. Send me any questions, and I'll shoot a video, and I'll post it for your enjoyment and your growth.
I am at Thinline Fitness on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Website is thinlinefit.com. And same thing, if you've got any questions about movements, exercises, just want a quick workout for you and the crew, shoot me a message and I'll get back to you.
Awesome. Again, I really appreciate you guys' time. I
Appreciate it too.
had a good time. Enjoy. I just personally enjoy digging into what people are passionate about. It doesn't matter if I'm super passionate about it. I love seeing and hearing people talk about kind of what gets them going. So, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are right there with you. So, good stuff. Really appreciate it. Look forward to what maybe in the future, I'm sure we can get together again and hash something else out. But as far as me, I think that kind of sums it up. But
let me know if you want to get back again. We can go super woo woo too. I'll go way out in left field, and Ian can pull me back to center.
yeah. All right, until next time, everybody out there, look forward to talking, and hopefully stay safe and take care of each other. Thank you.
Awesome.